Wow, how long ago was the PBS interview?
May, April of
Oh,
this
this
year.
year.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
okay.
It was for New York, but out in New York, but it was really cool. I was like, I always wanted to be like the historian that was interviewed in a documentary, and I'm like, oh, now I am.
How did PBS reach out to you for that
So
piece?
they were doing the piece on the Thomas Cole historic site, and I had been doing work with Thomas Cole with the Thomas Cole site, and so they were PBS was doing a thing with them, and they were like, oh well, you need to talk to her too. So then they reached out to me that way. Yeah, it was really
Wow.
cool. Yeah,
Well, and so you had to travel out to New York for
I
that?
was living in New York at the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
I grew up in Southeast Michigan, but I've lived in Wisconsin and New York at the same time.
Hmm.
Well, not like I lived in Wisconsin for 2.5 years. I lived in New York for a year and a half. We moved back to Michigan in May of this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is Thomas Cole?
Thomas Cole was an artist. He's considered the founder of the Hudson River School of Art back in like the 1800s. You're probably familiar with his work and you don't even know it.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, he had a really good eye for capturing like the light and the river and the scenery, but like what I focused in on is like what he didn't include, or if he did include it, like what was like he didn't really include like indigenous folks, but when he would include them, they would be like super miniature, minute little things in his paintings, and you'd be like, okay, so what are we actually talking about here? So it was like kind of I was really into analyzing his art.
Oh, very
But
cool.
yeah, yeah. So his studio and home were in Catskill, New York. And then just across which is on the west side of the Hudson River, and then on the east side of the river, literally across, is the home of Frederick Church, who was one of Thomas Cole's students. And he really took the Hudson River School of Painting to the next level. And so it was really his home. If you ever can go to upstate New York and you can go to either Thomas Cole or Frederick Church's house, I would go to Frederick Church's house, which is Olana, because the architecture, the decor, it's so unique and interesting. Like,
Mhm.
and it sits atop of one of the mountains, and so like you can look down and see the valley, and it's really cool.